Welcome back. So, I don't want to speak down on this before I even say it, but I'm really hoping I can get this out the way that I can, feel it in my spirit. So, God has been showing me lately, how I want to say powerful and important it is to, I want to say be equally yoked, but it's more than that. It's like having the right partners, or just having, I'm gonna say having the right partners. And on top of that, following instructions. It's not as simple as I just said it, but that's kind of how to be able to formulate what I'm noticing into words. I was watching this movie, and a little boy was trying to explain to his dad that he said some metal men they saw a metal man in the woods. And granted, because we were watching a movie because it's a movie, we was able to see what he saw. But imagine you trying to explain something to somebody that hasn't seen what you saw. So when he went to explain it to his dad was just like, stop playing around, get in the house, not taking what he said seriously. But what he saw it changed the whole trajectory of what the whole movie was about to be. And if his dad would have just listened to him, he could have, I don't want to say he could have saved a whole bunch of lives, but I don't know if it would have went the way it went if, the dad was in tune with what the kid was trying to tell him. It's not that... It's not like the kid gave clear instructions or a clear depiction of what he saw. It's like when you reading in the Bible and it's talking about what angels look like, or even there's a Bible verse where it's talking about a statue with clay feet and this got iron in it. And then it talks about how the head of that statue is different, the body of the statue is different, and then the legs and the feet is made out of something totally different. When I hear that, it still don't make sense. Even reading stuff in Revelations, it just doesn't make sense. And when I saw how the little boy was trying to explain this to his dad, and his dad wasn't taking him seriously because he was a child, it wasn't beneficial for them as a whole. But from the dad's perspective, how the boy explained it, if you never saw it, it wouldn't make sense. How many people see in metal men? We see Iron Man because of the movie, so we can think of that. But if you've never seen a robot before, how you know what a robot is? So seeing that made me realize how misunderstanding or miscommunication can be a detriment. It could be very detrimental in times of situations in times that are imperative to understanding. And right now, I feel like this is one of those times. There's so much going on out in the world on so many different levels that it's confusing to so many different people, because certain people see different things and don't know how to explain it at different levels for other people to understand. And then there's an active enemy out there trying to cause confusion so people don't understand each other to be able to combat his agenda. And how God was kind of showing me like the equally yoked type of situations was how he kept trying to show to me before. I kept saying like coverings, like how important coverings were. And he first showed me it with pastors, and how if you have the correct, I don't want to say correct because we're all human and we make mistakes, but if you have a leader that has the heart of God over you, it shows up in the way that it's supposed to everybody else afterwards. Like, let's say you got a household. Like, if the parents are in a good, healthy space and feel like that they have everything together, like that kind of shows in their children, and how their children shows up outside the home per se. Even in the home, but outside the home just makes more sense because like it starts in the home. So when I was thinking of it in a covering sense, it was like, be careful who you I don't want to say calling your pastor, but who you submitted yourself under as far as like a teacher to your spirit. Like, be considerate of who you are getting your godly wisdom from, because if it's not authentically or genuinely from God, that perversion part of it can cause perversion in your life. Like, there was a pastor, I trusted their leadership. I trusted listening to them for a season. I'm going to have to say a season because not everybody's permanent. Sometimes God does use people for a season. And for that season, that pastor was what I needed. But when I got to a certain, I guess, growth in my spiritual awareness, I noticed that even though God has allowed this person to be in a spiritual position, this person is also a business person. So when I noticed that they would do or make business decisions, and I would see how that would affect or reflect in my reality in a negative sense, that's when God was just like, this covering isn't how you need it. Like, even in before I departed from, it sounds deeper than what it is, because it's to me it's not that deep. But before I stopped listening to this preacher, the preacher himself even said, like, I don't know if he was questioning, was it a rebuke from God or not. That really has nothing to do with me, but it was just more so of what God was allowing me to see in the situation. And in the situation, it was just like, right now, you're not being treated as a sheep in a flock. You're being treated like a research project of figuring out business moves, and I don't need that for you. So I'm gonna need you to I'm gonna need you to remove yourself from this situation. And removing myself has changed how I perceive things, because I don't know if it's more so like I don't feel attached to that type of thing. So I don't know if God's protecting me from things now, because like it sounds bad, but I don't have any other spiritual covering but God in the moment. But with that, he's showing me how important it is with spiritual coverings just in general. So beyond that, he was kind of showing me in a leadership stance as well. Like, there's different people in my life that are considered leadership in my life, because I still work like a 9 to 5. So I still have I have a boss, let's just say it that way. So because of that, he's showing me like different leadership qualities in these type of people, in these type of situations, and how their leadership styles can affect me. Like, again, I don't want it to sound as deep as it sounds, but it really is kind of that deep. I remember a while ago, I was listening to someone, and they said 9 times out of 10, if God puts you under someone's leadership, it's because there's a quality in you that is mirroring them, or it's something that God wants you to learn from them as a leadership quality, or it's something that he's trying to teach you not to be like. It wasn't quite said like that, but that's kind of how it was put. And I was observing situations where if I was leaving things into the hands of leadership and seeing how things would take place under their leadership, how would things kind of reflect in my day-to-day life? And I don't know if God was allowing different people that want to show their leadership skills I don't know if he was allowing them to show how they are through me in their leadership styles, if that makes sense. So throughout the week, I would see how I would show up differently, just depending on who God would allow. Let's just put it that way. And some days I was getting stuff done, had extra energy, like things were flowing the way that it should. And then other days it was just like I could see how split, if your agendas are split, it had me not showing up to my full capacity for what it could be like if the person was focused on one thing. And then I saw how if the person was perverted, like perversion would just be chaotic. Like, that in itself just reiterate the importance of a covering to me, because no one should be living their life with that many access points. Like, it shouldn't. Life is. I really want to explain this without confusion. So there's so many people that I would hear that would say, don't do this because it opens doors to that. Don't do that because it'll open the door to that. Or they'll be like, this is happening in your life because you got too many doors open. And they were saying like the doors that were open were like open to demonic spirits to be able to do the demonic stuff that this demonic spirits does. And in the time right now, there's so much uncertainty and people are trying to figure things out that they are, I can't say it any other way but what it is. Like, they're researching on people. Like, we're human test trials, whether you know it or not. Like, whether you have, what's the word for it? I'm going to say giving them permission or not. Like, to me, it all seems illegal because I feel like you should. How many times have you seen products that say not tested on animals, or, like, we have some type of right that should be able to prevent this from taking place. But because we're in such an unknown spiritual, natural territory at the moment, people are just doing whatever. Just kind of how, like, when the internet first started and you didn't know how much regulations you needed to put on the internet because we didn't know what the internet was or what the internet could be. And then later down the line, you got parental control type stuff going on where you got to be 18 to be able to view this site, or you got to, enter in just different things to help prevent perversion, basically. And nobody knows how important that is until they're faced with the situation where it's like, yeah, this is a definite answer that this is important to put a limit on it because people go too far. And that's how it is with spiritual covering. Like, just to kind of make it make sense, like that pastor, like, I'm pretty sure he sees himself as a pastor and he sees himself as a businessman. So, like I was saying before, how I felt like if somebody's was in a split type of thinking process, it would show up as a split thinking process in how you move in your life. And it's just like, I'm not saying be limited to how God wants to use you, but certain things when it comes to having that, if God graced you in the area to be this person in leadership and having these people under you, you have to be mindful of the way that you do things and how it affects the people under you. And that's something that I guess is supposed to be the lesson for me right now in this. But being able to see it in the people that he's placed me under just shows me how important that is. But that's just part of it. So there's another part of it where he was kind of showing me this same thing, but in in like relationships, and not even just a romantic type of relationship, also in like friendships. And he was showing me how being equally yoked in these type of situations is imperative as well, because how you show up for others not even just showing up for others, being equally yoked in these type of relationships is kind of like those open doors again. So it's not saying that you're taking on these people's burdens, but because you're open to having these people in your life, things that they are going through can I don't have the right words for it, because I can't really explain it how I feel it. And I prayed that I would be able to express it the way I see it or feel it, but it's not coming out like that. How I want to explain it. So, you know how your parents, they see certain people and they're just like, that's not a good friend, or that's not somebody you should want to hang around or be around. Or there's a Bible verse that says something like, bad company corrupts good morals, or something to that sense. And granted, I'm not saying that because other people view other people in certain lights that you should view people in those lights because of stereotypes. It's not a stereotype type of thing, but it's if you see someone showing up this way for somebody else, and that's not something that you feel like you would want somebody to show up in your life as, be considerate of that. Because character, people can mask who they think they are, but character is going to show up as character. So in certain situations, it's like I play around a lot, and like I was saying before, I'll be in situations where it's like, it's from the outside looking in, and people are being like, they'll be like, she's being delusional or foolish, or she's not making correct decisions for herself. But when it's me and God looking in on it, it's like, this is how I'm showing you when I bring your person into your life, this is how I'm character developing you to be for your person. And I'm character developing you to see things that you don't want in a person, and how to discern these things now, so that you don't choose not, I don't even want to say it like that, because like, that's a different story. Let's not go to. So I don't want you to give counterfeits the time of the day, because you're not paying attention to how we're character developing, if that makes sense. Like, I'm showing you these things so you can ask the right questions. So when I send your person that I have for you, you know that it's them, because you see these qualities that I've shown you through this situation to know that this is who I've sent for you. Or you know this isn't the person because you've seen those qualities that you know didn't work for you in this situation. So don't waste their time or your time trying to make something out of this when you don't have to. Or don't force a friendship out of this when you know that these aren't traits of a friendship that you would want. Like, I don't know if people know, but friendship breakups is just as hard as like a real relationship breakup, like romantic relationship breakups. Like, they both are, they tug on your heartstrings the same. So it's just like choosing people and making sure that you are equally yoked is important, because it, like that movie, can change the trajectory of the outcomes just depending on understanding or being able to understand each other. Like right now, this probably is hard for people to even listen to, because like it doesn't sound clear. It's not Sam had an apple and gave Jenny an apple and gave Sarah nothing. Like, Sam likes Jenny more because he gave Jenny an apple, and clearly he doesn't like Sarah because he didn't give Sarah an apple. Like, it's not that clear cut, so it doesn't make sense in that sense, but it is it's really what's going on in the world right now. Like, it's really hard to explain because nothing is clear cut in the moment. So how God was showing me these things, or basically what I asked, like, as far as like how can I give a physical representation of what I mean through Bible verses. And he had me think of Jonathan and David's relationship. I'm going to have to redo this whole video. So this is just me pretty much probably just thinking it out. I hope the second time around it come out better. But with Jonathan and David, God told David to go spy out this land that he was going to give to them. And David pretty much was like asking like who was going to go with him, and nobody wanted to go, but Jonathan was just like, you know what, we can go. It'll just be me and you and we can go. And Jonathan and David was like locked in with each other from the moment that they saw each other. And they friendship was so strong that like Jonathan would tell David stuff that would help him, and people would like, if you in a certain mindset, you would be like, dang, like you going against your family to help somebody that is just a friend. But it's just like that friend, there's a Bible verse that say like there's a friend that stick closer than a brother or something like that, right? And like that's the type of relationship Jonathan and David kind of gave. Like they wasn't blood brothers, but they was brothers. Like, they showed up for each other in ways that showed that they they cared about each other. They were in sync. Like, they had a good bond together that helped them get stuff done. Like, they were accomplishing things in the spiritual and in the natural realm, like, for God, because they were in tune with each other like they needed to be. Like, that's how God was showing me that, like, when choosing friends, like, it's important in that sense, because there's things that I have to for you to get done out in this world, and you can't be playing around with just anybody out here that's not trying to accomplish these same missions that I have for you to get done at this time. Like, this is not a time to be just playing. Like, I hate to say it like that, because life shouldn't be so militant, but it's like there's a spiritual war taking place that is causing this type of energy, because of that unknown that I was talking about before. But how God was showing me, like, if you follow the Holy Spirit and are in tune with how God is moving in your life, like, these people just are going to naturally show up the way that they're supposed to, because they're doing what they're supposed to be doing for God. And it's just going to come together. Like, it's going to be an equally yoked type thing, because the mission is the same. So how he kind of showed me that was, like, he gave clear instructions on these people on how to take down this town called Jericho. And he told them, I'm going to send you out, do this in silent for this amount of times, and then on the last time, I'm going to need y'all to shout. And they did exactly what God told them to do. And on the last time, the walls came crumbling down. They was able to go do what God told them to do. But if they didn't do the things the way that God told them to do it, in the way that they told them to do it, it probably wouldn't have worked that way. And if all them people wasn't in tune with each other to show up the way that they were supposed to show up, like, they wouldn't have been able to fulfill what God wanted them to do in the way, or in the way that God wanted them to do. Like, who crumbling stuff with a shout? Like, come on now. But what God was showing me, like, sometimes it don't take too many people. Like, there was a situation where I had this weird dream. Like, it was like, I don't even want to explain it, but I feel like it's fitting. So there was this couple, and this couple was playing a game, and they asked me to play with them. But it was weird, because it was just like the winner was able to go on a dinner date with me. And it's just like, why are we playing a game to go on a dinner date with me? Like, that to me doesn't make sense. That's why I don't want to explain it, because to me the dream is just like, it seemed perverted, but it makes sense. It makes sense in a sense. So in the dream, the husband won the game and was excited to go on a dinner date with me, but the wife was just like, happy that the husband won the game, and she was fine with allowing him to go on a dinner date with me, because, like, she was happy that it was us three playing the game and there was nobody else playing the game with us. If that, like, it sounds perverted. So, because it's a husband and a wife, and then it's me. But if you think of it in a sense, like, that's how marriage is supposed to be. Like, it's supposed to be a husband, a wife, and God. And I feel like I'm a vessel of God. So if God is using me in this sense to make a point for whatever point he needs to make. It's just like that's what God wants and needs for us. Like, if we're going to be out here trying to accomplish what he needs us to accomplish, we need to be yoked up with who he put us to be in the position with. Like, he needs us to be so in tune with each other that if he sends somebody to be who we need them to be in a situation, that it makes sense for our situation, because that's what God intended it to be. So how he like made that make sense for me, like he was explaining how it was him and Jesus. Like, he sent Jesus down here to be a physical representation of what he needed Jesus to be, to reflect who he is. And when Jesus got down here, he came standing on business, doing what God told him to do, like moving and doing what God told him to do to accomplish what God needed him to do to be able to show up as he's supposed to this day. So when Jesus was out here, like, not making sense to people and people questioning, like, is what you saying from God, or is this man demonic? And Jesus still going through just completing the different missions that God has set him out to do. It was just like every time he completed these things, God reaffirmed him, like, yeah, that's my son and I'm well pleased. Like, yeah, I'm going to give you this type of glory because you showed up for me and gave me my glory. And it's just like, if Jesus didn't follow his Father's voice the way that he kept saying and going through things that he even had to pray through certain things, like, if you could take this burden from me, like, please do. Like, I don't want to go through with this, but because it's your will, I'm going to continue listening to you, because, like, you haven't failed me yet. And because he completed what God set out for him to do, he's still able to show up in our lives to this day, doing exactly what God still intended for him to do from way back then. And it's like, even how he would speak about his relationship with God didn't make sense to people listening. Like, he would say things like, me and my Father are one. Or like, he'll tell the people around him, like, yeah, you gonna desert me, but I'm doing my Father's will. So it's a, like, I don't know. Like, even in times of feeling I want to say abandoned, because of the bigger picture, he was still able to push towards the mark, because he's seen the Father. Like, he knows the Father. So even though they were separated for a moment for him to come here to do what he needed to do, it's like that relationship or that bond between them was too strong to let what this world placed as a burden be enough to break what they already had solidified. And it's like, God is truly trying to get the leaders to have that type of mindset when it comes to being equally yoked up with him to be able to lead a people to where he needs them to be able to be how he envisioned his people to be. And then he's trying to cultivate relationships in this godlike, loving sense so people cannot feel abandoned or lonely or like they don't, that disconnect of what God's love is like because of how cold this world could be. Even though this didn't come out how I would like it to, like I said, I like stuff in order. It's a little too chopped up for me. But I'm going to leave it like this because I feel like it's still what was needed to be said was said. And I don't want to try to re-say this and not get out or miss or forget something because, like I said, what was said was needed to be said. But I'm going to go try to find the Bible verses that I was thinking about when I was thinking about all this stuff. And I'll be back. Give me 1 second. Okay. And we're back. So I went through looking through for the Bible verses. And I noticed that I got one of the stories kind of mixed up. So it wasn't Jonathan and David that went to go look out for that city together. But what I noticed when going back and reading through it, it still kind of fit because it showed what kind of character Jonathan had. And it showed like a foreshadow of what David and Jonathan's friendship was going to be like. So that was 1 Samuel 14, 1 through 4. And then like actually getting into Jonathan and David's friendship starts with 1 Samuel 18, 1. And then verse 3 kind of shows how they came together. And then 1 Samuel 19 and chapter 19 and chapter 20 pretty much shows how Jonathan kept looking out for David. The Bible verse that kind of brought together that whole friendship being like a brotherhood was Proverbs 18:24. And then when I was talking about the walls of Jericho, that is Joshua 6. And when I was talking about the dream itself is separate. But when I was talking about the feet being made of clay and iron, that is in Daniel 2:24 through 45. Now, these Bible verses with Jesus and God showing up, it's quite a few of them. But I'm going to read off just the way that I kind of found them. And I might try to like put in why I was thinking of these. So Matthew 11:25 through 30 was a depiction of being equally yoked. Like it talks about being yoked up in that passage, but it's more so the whole 11:25 through 30 that was the full picture of what I was trying to say. Not just being equally yoked just because that Bible verse says it, but that's the depiction of the whole thing. And then Matthew 3:13 through 17 is it was showing like that order. Like in that Bible verse, John the Baptist was telling Jesus, like, I should be the one getting baptized by you. And Jesus is just like, nah, there's an order to things. And then God pretty much like solidifying that, saying like, yeah, I'm pleased at how you doing things. And then Mark 14, 35 through 35 and 36 was Jesus praying, pretty much saying like, you know, if God could take this from him, like take it from him, because who trying to die? Like, for real. And then John 5, chapter 5, verse 16 through 30 was Jesus explaining how God is still at work. Same with how I was trying to explain how because Jesus did what he was supposed to do, God is still showing the work through him to this day. And it just further reiterated that in John 10, 22 through 42, where Jesus was pretty much saying the same thing. Like, that's him showing up, doing what God told him to do to show who God is. And that's still showing up to this day, is what I'm trying to say. John 14, verses 15 through 21 is Jesus pretty much explaining how the Holy Spirit is an advocate to everything that he was saying, to explain who he is saying, what he was sent here to do, to show up how he was supposed to show up for who he is. And then John 16, verse 27 through 33 was that whole Jesus explaining how he was finna return to his father. Like, he was finna go back to where he was from. Like, and granted, it might be I'm gonna just leave it at that because I don't want to over explain and confuse nobody. But those are the Bible verses that kind of explains what I was trying to explain in this whole 48 minutes. But I'm not gonna edit. I'm gonna let it be what it is. And I hope you got what you were supposed to get from it. And yeah, until next time.